Bed of Roses by Lynn Patrick.
He's been watching me all evening. I felt his eyes on me as soon as I came out of the restaurant. Or is it wishful thinking? I can't remember when a man last watched me. What will I say if he comes over? Go away, please. I want to be alone. Corny, but true. Full of character, these old coaching inns. Not made for 6-foot men. Colin would bang his head on that door frame. Oh my God, he's standing up. So much for the old ploy of a book to repel invaders. Oh no. No, thank goodness. He's only getting another drink. I suppose I'd better ring home. I did promise. Debbie and Simon will be in bed. Well, Simon will be. Debbie ought to be. Colin will be watching TV. Hello, it's me. Everything okay? No, I'm not overdoing it. I've had a lovely dinner and a drink in the lounge. God. Oh, make sure Simon cleans the bath himself, won't you? You always do take care of things. Yes, time I was getting to bed too, I suppose. See you Monday then. I'll ring from the station. Oh, Colin, there's no need. It's June and I'm a consenting adult quite able to look after myself. I got here all right and I'll get myself home. Don't fuss. I know. I know. No, I won't talk to any strange men. Me too. Good night, love. That man's still looking at me. My word, he's putting it away. That's his 4th brandy. I can watch men in bars if I choose. In my position, I can do exactly as I please. What shall I do tomorrow? I could go for a walk. Haven't done that for a while. Saw something about Roman remains. A fort, I think. But then when Simon says, "But what did you do, Mum?" I'll have something to tell him. Easier than explaining why it's perfectly okay to do nothing. I think I'll go up and have a bath. I'll stay in there for an hour. Like Debbie. And I'll leave towels all over the floor like Simon. And I won't clean the grey ring off because I'm paying someone to do it for me. I'm fed up of being a good little housewife and mum. I'm going to spend the whole weekend being a real slob. And I'll talk to whoever I like. Believe that was really me. Grumbling on to a total stranger about how boring I am. No wonder he wandered off back to his river. Perhaps he thinks I've come here to pick up a man. Oh, I should have arranged my life differently long ago if I wanted to spend it hankering after charismatic artists. He said, "I wasn't expecting to find a familiar face in here. Will you let me buy you a drink to compensate for invading your privacy?" "Oh, there's no need," I said, "but yes, thank you." "What was it?" "Sorry?" "Your drink." "Oh, shandy, just shandy." He bought himself more beer and a shandy for me and carried them back to my table. He said something about people watching being an occupational hazard, so I asked him if he was a psychologist. But apparently he paints. Mainly illustrations and designs to pay the bills, but a proper exhibition now and again. He sold a series of paintings in the States a few years ago. That made him enough to buy him a house, with 5 bedrooms and an acre of garden, even a studio. That's romantic somehow. We have a conservatory and a study. Desirable features in a suburban home. But a studio. Still, he's an artist. He probably thought I was boring. Ordinary, conventional. I bake cakes, I mend clothes, I polish furniture. What a waste of life. We must. Why would someone who moves among beautiful, stimulating people want to sit talking to a dowdy suburban housewife? I only ever meet people like me. And now, when it's too late, I meet a painter, someone interesting, someone quite outside my experience, a chance to touch something new. It's funny. I was happy enough in my suburban rut until fate showed me how much I'd left unexplored. 4-bed detached bourgeoisie, music and swimming lessons for the kids, Oxfam shop 2 mornings a week. Is that really all there is? I thought I'd worked all of this out of my system weeks ago. When the bomb first dropped, why bother all over again? It's that damned artist. He's dredged it all up. It was raining when we came out of the pub. He gave me a lift back. Then went off towards the river. Fishing, he said. Oh, that's his car. He must have come back. He didn't look happy. Something was picking at him, too. Not that it's any of my business. He can work out his own answers. I shan't take up his time again. Oh my God, here he is. He's coming over. Sleeping is such a waste of time. For me, anyway. I spent half the night just looking at him. All smoothed out and childlike. I kept touching him, gently so he wouldn't wake. His skin's like lemon peel. Oh, who would have guessed I could be so uninhibited? I can go home and teach Colin a few things now. Not that we've exactly gone along with the idea of procreation and keeping lust within bounds, but novelty is a powerful aphrodisiac. He took me down to the river to watch the trout feeding. I'd never seen that before. It was all for new experiences, tasting the unknown. Well, it's all right for him. Have you some waterproof boots? He said. The path is muddy. He led the way over the road to the lane down to the river, and he held my hand over the stile. The path was narrow and skirted the top of a dam built to divert the river a century or so back. I picked my way behind him. I had to put my arms out for balance. The river opened out into a sort of pool, all surrounded with willows. The sun came out and made the rocks sparkle. He chose 2 rocks, less wet and jagged than the rest, a little distance from the water so we could talk without frightening the fish away. It was so peaceful. Is this where you come to fish? I asked. I come here to run away, he said. Run away? That's what I've done. Run away from the laundry and the dishes and the dusting and a husband and 2 children. What are you running from? No, let me guess. The police. No, I've got it. The newspapers. He smiled. Nothing so dramatic. Just life, I suppose. Me too. Only I don't have an excuse like fishing. I've just taken flight. He's got 2 children. Both quite small. Funny, you say. I didn't think of him with a family. He seems sort of solitary. But I suppose painting's a solitary occupation. His wife's called Beverly. The trout kept popping up, blowing bubbles on the surface of the water. Shall we go back? He said. And he held out his hand to help me over the slippery rocks. And I don't know what I thought I was doing. I said, do you think Beverly would mind if I kissed you? What about your husband? He answered. Colin. I shan't tell him, I said. Then I shan't tell Beverly. And he kissed me. I can't remember the last time I kissed any man apart from Colin. He kept hold of my hand as we trudged back. We had dinner together. He changed, made an effort just like I did. I'm glad I brought my black dress. And we came out here for coffee. And he said, I'd like to paint you. Will you sit for me? Are you serious? I asked. Nevermore. Is it possible? Where do you live? Of course it's not possible. He's miles away in the opposite direction. Well, at least let me draw you, he said. A sketch to work from. When? I asked. What's wrong with now? He said. I bet that's his favourite ploy. I hardly recognised it. I'm out of practice. And there we were, in his room. He did sketch me. The drawing was me, but it wasn't. I looked so serene. He said, it's what I noticed first about you. I said, a talent like that for capturing a face in a few pencil strokes must be worth a fortune. He brushed it off. Oh, it's a knack, that's all. It makes money. Magazine illustrations. The slushy stories women read over their morning coffee. Dowdy suburban housewives, I said. We both laughed. Then he said, "Don't you know you're a beautiful woman?" No one's ever said that before. Colin doesn't go in for extravagant compliments. "I've never done this before," I said, as he slid the straps of my dress down my arms. "No, I don't make a habit of it either," he said. I didn't quite believe him. I certainly didn't later. Colin has more enthusiasm than skill. Hands and mouth. Everywhere, doesn't stop moving until he flops on my chest, spent. Even then, his hands stroke and his mouth pecks little kisses wherever he can reach, without shifting. Sex with Colin has always been earthy. Fun! But lately it's had a desperate quality. I suppose he's trying to manufacture a closeness that can't exist anymore. This was quite different. He was slow and delicate. Gourmet sex. He is a connoisseur. He's no oil painting, not in the physical sense. His nose is crooked, there are pouches under his eyes, and a fan of crow's feet when he smiles. Colin has him licked in the good looks department, but it was still beautiful. Afterwards it was peaceful, side by side. His shirt lay on the chair, twined round my black dress. I thought he'd gone to sleep. Then he said, "Tell me why you're here. The real reason." "Only if you do the same," I said. "Okay, it's a deal. We'll both confess. It's easier with strangers, isn't that what they say?" "Strangers," I said. "Strangers in the sense of a chance encounter. We've never met before this weekend, and we'll never meet again after it." I made him go first. He turned a little, settled himself, so he was looking at my face. "A few days ago, I received a letter making me an offer. An offer you can't refuse," I said. "An offer I'd be very selfish to accept. It seems an American company has offered him a sponsorship. He has to paint a mural for their foyer and a couple of originals for their top floor offices. 2 years' work. The catch is he has to go to America, and his wife hates America." "Go alone," I said. "Yes," he sighed. "Easy, isn't it? The problem is I probably wouldn't come back." It's a familiar story. They married 9 years ago. He was tired of laundrettes and Chinese takeaways, and she worked in one of the big galleries running the snack bar. She was there, available, the right place at the right time. "You have to be careful what you ask for," I said. "You might get it." "I did," he said. "I got Beverly, then the house, then 2 children in quick succession. You know, I really looked forward to being a father." So did Colin. He learnt fast too. I said, "Children are people, individuals. We can't specify what we want." "No, but how can they be strangers when they're part of you, when they live right beside you in the same house?" My body seemed to leave the mattress and thud back down. I didn't know if it was the violence in his voice or just that the same question was in my own mind. How can you share a home, a bed, a life with someone for 14 years, think you know him inside out, and yet still feel closer to someone you hadn't even met this time yesterday? I found his hand and squeezed it hard. His little girl's 6. The boy's nearly 5. She wears jeans all the time, plays football, won't look at a doll, and elbows him in the ribs when he tries to hug her. The little boy follows his mother around with a duster. His favourite game is pushing his teddy bear around in a truck he insists is a pram, and all he wanted for Christmas last year was one of those dolls that cries and wets itself. I couldn't help laughing. I used to paint them, he said, but Beverly only ever liked the sketches. There's one of Louise on the sitting room wall. Her front tooth's missing. People expect too much from marriage. I asked what he wanted from his wife apart from clean socks and regular meals. What does anyone want? He said. Understanding. An appreciation of what I try to dredge out of myself. What she doesn't see is that when she won't let me talk to her about my work, she's fending me off as well. I am my work. She used to sit for me. She loved the sketches. She has a kind of country girl quality, easy to capture with a few strokes of pencil and pastel. But there was nothing in the paintings she recognised. That was when I gave up on any kind of spiritual harmony between us. How does she feel? I asked. Oh, Beverly isn't stupid. It hurts, this distance between us. Her as much as me. My fault, I suppose, for wanting the earth, moon and stars. Well, he's got the earth. It's the moon and stars that have gone missing. So why was he undecided about the offer from America, I asked. His wife could go out to work. Most women do these days. She could sell the house, find somewhere smaller. He had to think about that. Then he said, I don't know if I have the right to take away the part of me she needs. I've helped her put down roots. Am I entitled to damage them? When I showed her the letter, she said I must go if that was what I wanted, but she knew the risk she was taking. And anyway, why are you telling me to take off into the rosy future and to hell with convention? Shouldn't you be on her side? With lots of good reasons for saving my marriage and getting to know my children. He's right. It's not my style, encouraging him to abscond. Whatever next? After that, we lay there for a while. Just touching. But he wasn't about to let me get away with it. Come on, he said. I've made my confession, now it's your turn. I wasn't about to rat. A deal's a deal. I shifted a little to get comfortable, turned my head away. There are some things you can't say looking into someone's eye. I told him. He didn't know what to say. No one does, I told him. There's no need to say anything. How can you be so calm? He asked. Well, there isn't much point in being hysterical. There's nothing to be done about it. So why did you come here? He said. Don't you want to be with your family? That's what they said. Actually, I suppose I needed to get away for pretty much the same reason as he did. I have a decision to make. Do I take the chemotherapy or not? 1 week in 6, at a hospital 30 miles away from home. My hair will fall out, my skin will turn yellow, and I shall probably put back all the weight I've lost. And between treatments, I shall feel so dreadful I wish I hadn't bothered. Now, if there was just 1/2 a chance it would cure me, I'd be there already. But it can only buy time. A couple of years at the most. So I have to decide whether I want that time, or if the price is too high. Quality of life or quantity, he said. I wish Colin and the doctor saw it that way. He got quite emotional then. There I was pouring out my trite little troubles when you have the the sword of Damocles hanging over you. He's wrong, though. His life could change direction. His life. All I have to do is make up my mind whether to die in 6 months or in a couple of years. He has to live with his decision. That's far harder. He couldn't get his head round that. But I'm only being realistic. I've just tried to accept it as far as you can. I screamed and cursed at first, stamped my feet, smashed crockery. Yeah, it's frustrating and terrifying to know your days are, quite literally, numbered. But that didn't last long. I then went out and spent a small fortune on the kind of underwear that makes you feel wonderful, but disintegrates in the washing machine. And then I calmed down and went through a phase of talking it all through with anyone who'd listen, friends, family, Colin. And that passed too. And now there's nothing left to say. But Colin says it anyway. Over and over. He never stops talking about it. He's become fascinated by cancer. He reads about it, surfs the internet, watches television programmes about Macmillan nurses and raw food diets, bends the doctor's ear whenever he gets the chance. And he calls it facing up to things. But he's so busy with his own feelings that he hasn't left any room for mine. I mean, what he's really doing is refusing to allow himself space to think. It helps him, I suppose. It's his way of coming to terms with it. Know your enemy, the better to defeat it. Except he can't. You see, it would never occur to Colin that there were alternatives. The treatment is available, so I take it. I mean, to him, that's the only way to look at it. Oh, he's been making plans for weeks. A cleaner, so I don't have to worry about the house. Time off work when I'm home between treatments. So practical things, you see. Colin's a great coper. Except when I cry. Then he lies there, rigid, with a foot of empty mattress between us, willing me to stop because he doesn't know what to do with weeping females. He did. Yeah, well, he knew exactly what to do. He reached for a handful of tissues from the box by the bed and just held me until the tears stopped. After a while he said, "So, now you're grabbing as many new experiences as you can before time runs out on you. If having sex with a stranger is a new experience, I suppose I was. But it's too late for that now. Colin wanted to take me abroad and to all the new shows, but I said no. Fate can throw what it likes at me and I'll squeeze it dry, but I can't let them mortgage their future for my whims. They do have a future. So why don't you take the treatment and extend your own future?" he asked. I don't know. Getting it over with is the selfish way out. I mean, perhaps I ought to stay around a little longer to cook meals for Simon and Debbie and haul them out of squalor. Give Colin longer to build his defence against the shock. That's why I fight when I say I'm refusing the treatment. The longer you can pretend, the thicker he can build the wall. He fools himself that it won't really happen if he reads all the books and picks it to bits. He can pretend it's happening to someone else. I was still clutching the tissues. He took them from me and dropped them on the floor. Then he kissed my eyelids, my cheeks, and very gently my lips. Then he began to make love to me again. Teasing sensation out of my skin, moving above me, around me, inside me, with grace and delicacy. The pleasure pierced and excruciated, and I wanted it never to end. Afterwards, he said, I'd forgotten this sense of stillness, of peacefulness, after making love to a beautiful woman. He's the only man who ever called me beautiful. He went to sleep then. I didn't. I haven't time to spare for sleeping. Campari. It's not Dutch courage, I just like it. I got up before he was awake. I went back to the trout pool. It was so still and quiet, like him. And when he speaks, it's soft and low, and he doesn't shuffle or talk with his hands. His whole body is controlled. Colin leaps off in all directions, altering the television volume, tidying a newspaper, twitching a curtain, turning a plant from the sun. He's in a state of permanent unrest. It exhausts me just to watch. But he is like the pool. Each ripple means something. Fancy me being unfaithful, committing adultery after all these years. I never thought it was my style. Which is the real me, I wonder? The respectable housewife? All convention and morning coffee? Or that sensuous, wide-open creature I became last night? I thought Colin and I had tried most things in bed, but he's never made me feel like that. Amazing how a death sentence concentrates sensations. A death sentence? I never thought of it like that before. Released by the black cap to follow my instincts and inclinations. I could say anything to anyone. Do whatever I like. And all they'll think is, oh, poor thing, she hasn't long to live. Oh, it was a mad idea. But just for a moment it was possible. The present, the moment in sharp focus. That's the way to play it. Come to America with me, he said. Explore the unknown while there's still sand in the hourglass. Ah, America. What an opportunity. I shall tell the children that. Grasp every opportunity, anything that will help you grow, and milk every drop from it. Oh, they don't listen to me, but they'll listen to that, because I'll shout it down a megaphone if I have to. Or write it down and put it in a bank vault until they're old enough not to switch off when I open my mouth. Teenage rebellion. I did it myself. Quite healthy and normal, but infuriating if you're on the receiving end. He showed me a photograph of Beverly. She was pretty, like pictures of a 19th century milkmaid, sort of fresh and open. She cleans the windows in my studio every week, he said. I won't find a New York apartment with a wall of north-facing windows. Well, of course he must go to America, I told him. Grasp anything that will help you grow. He can't stay and fester if his life's let him down, and he can't be doing much for his wife if that's how he feels. It's none of my business anyway. I was just a listening post. It's easy for me. With only 6 months left, I can't do much growing. All I have to do is tie the ends off. There's a bottle of pills ready for when it gets to be too much. Funny. I thought his life was so glamorous. But he's as much in a rut as I am. Even the rich and talented have their gas bills. I feel like a fly with one wing caught in a spider's web, he said last night. It's still possible to disentangle myself before the spider comes back and wraps me in sticky thread and swallows me, but I'm afraid I might lose a wing if I try. If I was as firmly entangled in my own web as I thought I was, this weekend would never have happened. Perhaps I ought to let Colin take me to all those exotic places. Perhaps the memories are for him. He needs to move forward instead of finding a comfortable spot and standing in it. Too late for me, all this new wisdom. But if I can pass it on, I shan't have failed completely. And him, my one night, one and only lover. I wonder if I'll see him again. And perhaps he left early, couldn't face me. Not because of sleeping together, he's done that too many times before, but not many men open up as he did. He may be regretting it. A pity. I'd like to see him again. I'm not embarrassed. Once, perhaps. But it's too late for that now. I hope he comes. We'll have a wonderful meal together. Then we'll go and make love as if only the night existed. Perhaps some fool politician will press the red button as we scale the heights of passion, and there'll be no decision still waiting to be made in the morning. He told me about a painting he's almost finished. The first thing he's done for himself in over a year. He calls it Bed of Roses.
In Bed of Roses by Lynn Patrick, Jennifer was played by Karen Henson. The play was edited by David Gilbrook and directed for Rumpus Radio Productions by John Goodrum.